honest with you, I forget who exactly was the slot behind. Who was it, Dave?
It's Nikolai Ehlers.
Nick Ellers. So that might have been the answer, but we traditionally go down the list and stay with it. We found if you start debating and skipping over guys, that sometimes comes back to haunt you in the days ahead.
So we just wish Mr. Ellers some success, but not all that much with the Winnipeg Jets. It's nothing personal.
It's the right conference anyway.
Exactly.
He do as well as he wants.
All right, let's go back up, Lauren, if you've got another guest ready.
Hi, my name is Thomas, and I was wondering what you would do if both the goalies got injured during a game. Would you either scout out another goalie just for the few games, or would you either pick one from university, the OHL, or the Marlies?
Can you play net? No, that's a good question. What we would do is there are some provisions in the CBA for emergency replacements. So if there's a professional goalie in the building who's retired, they can dress for a game. And in my time in the office, we've had a lot of close calls where one goalie's gone down, but fortunately never had a second one go down. But you've probably read and seen stories where a member of the hockey staff is on the bench in the back of goaltender, so they haven't yet had to go in, but that's what would happen if it did.
We have had goalies come in and get dressed in the middle of the game here before. You probably haven't noticed they've only had to back up, thank goodness, but that has happened.
Scott McKay, a few years ago, former equipment assistant here, he was sitting in the room with his stuff on, and heaven forbid he was going to go in, but he's a competitive guy. He would have loved the opportunity.
We've had that, unfortunately, a few too many times. We've had Scott. This past year, I believe we got a young gentleman from U of T come down and prepare. We never put him on the bench. We didn't file any paperwork with the league, but we had him on a standing holding pattern, and it definitely can happen. Unfortunately for us, it hasn't gone to that extreme just yet.
Where might you have Joe Bowen or Jim Ralph on the depth chart if it really came down to it, Dave?
Pretty far down.
Legal size paper.
Okay, let's go back to Lauren, center aisle.
My name is Tova, and I was wondering, what's the busiest time of year for you?
Well, there's a couple different times that are I think really jammed. July, the end of June, start of July, you have the draft. Be preparing for that, but that's also when you have most or a lot of trade discussion. Then you get to the draft, you get through that. Then July 1st is free agency. So you have 2 or 3 days then where you're burning it pretty hard as well. So those, let's say that 2-week period is very busy. And then leading up to the trade deadline is another time where you're going pretty hard. You're 7 days a week, 18, 20 hours a day, because even if you get to the deadline and you don't find a deal, most of the trades that happen don't happen on that day. Most of the seeds are planted 7 days, 2 weeks earlier, and you're just continually working those trades to try to get together a deal that makes sense. So from a manager's standpoint, those are the 2 busiest periods for us.
Very good. Trade deadline day used to be so much fun back in the wild. Like, I think Pat Quinn in that era when he was here, and there was no cap restrictions, and just go, bring them in. But Brendan, you wouldn't have a job if that was the case, I guess.
That's right. I like the cow.
It's so important. You remember back to those days and what it was like to read? And I remember the one year when the team went for it, when Ronnie Francis is coming in, and Nolan,
Brian
Nolan.
Onward, yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of fun.
It was different. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but obviously with the cap, it's a little tighter now.
It is, but I guess from a hockey fan's perspective, Dave, they want